Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Aquarius. It is for Aquarius. And if Aquarius is your solar, lunar, ascendant / rising sign, then this is a horoscope for you. Now, I always say solar, lunar, ascendant / rising sign, but it could also be your Venus or, you know, any of the other, your Lilith, or you can watch for any of your placements. I've had that question a lot lately, and so yes, you are allowed to watch for whatever placement speaks to you, and that's exactly what I do when I watch readings. I go off the placement that I feel like is important in that moment. Okay, let's get started. And so Aquarius, tonight we have the Prince of Discs. Okay, and let's go ahead and take a look and see what these tea leaves have to say. And so if you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing that. You can hit that little bell. It'll let you know when the next readings are coming out. It is free to subscribe. Also, if you want to hit the like button or leave a comment, I'd love to hear from you. Definitely if you are new to the channel, shout it out in the comment section. Okay. So, we have a crab person, maybe a Cancer, but they could just be somebody that has kind of these crab qualities, right? And I feel like this is a person, now they're on top of a hill here, and then there's the crab with its little claws up, and we have a person who's kind of poking at it. I feel like this is a person who absolutely thinks that they rule the world. Like they're very, I hate to throw around the word narcissistic because it is so overused, I think. But this maybe is a person who is genuinely a narcissist and just unable to kind of perceive others' feelings maybe, or it's not that they can't perceive them, right? It's that I feel like they don't care. They just don't care. And I don't know if that is, I don't know. I can't diagnose somebody, I don't know, or anybody at all. I'm not a doctor, right? I'm not qualified for much of anything. So this is entertainment, by the way. But yes, it feels like they just think that they can't be wrong. They can do no wrong. Okay. And I feel like this is kind of a situation where it's absurd enough that you kind of find it laughable. And although you know that like maybe you should not be poking the little crab bear, right? You still kind of like to mess with them a little bit because it's just so hard to take it seriously. And I feel like that's kind of where we're at. And I think that this is maybe within the work zone. It could be family. It could be both together, right? But I do feel like, yeah, this is somebody who you just mess with a little bit, you know, and I don't think in a cruel way. I don't think you're being cruel, but I think it's kind of like there needs to be some humor injected into the situation because otherwise this would feel like you're dealing with like some little, like a tyrant, right? I'm thinking of like a kind of Napoleon complex, you know, having to deal with this like tyrannical personality. And yeah, I feel like you're just not somebody that's going to sit around and take that. And instead of becoming super confrontational, I think you do. You just kind of mess with them a little bit. And so we also have a face up here. You can see the eye, the mouth, the side of the nose. This is like the top of the head, kind of looking over this way. We also have another face here. You can see the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and kind of they're leaning against each other. And I almost feel like it's this is like almost a separate thing maybe, or maybe it's the same. I don't know, but this feels like somebody that maybe you're like good friends with them. Maybe it's a person at work. Maybe it is like a sibling or something. But when you are around this person, it's almost kind of like they're just kind of a mean-spirited. It's like if you could go most of your life, right, where you're not going to talk poorly about anybody, you just do your own thing, you know what I mean, you just kind of stay in your own lane, mind your own business, and then you're around a particular, you know, friend you've always had, or your sister or whatever, and you can start to talk some SH together, right? And you get into a place where, yeah, maybe you're being more critical, you're being a little more, you know, I don't know, like messing with this person. And I kind of feel like this is a dynamic where it kind of, you feed off one another, and it kind of creates maybe a little bit of a bad attitude, or maybe a little bit of bad behavior in general, right? And let me just say, I'm not judging that. We all have our people in our lives who, yeah, we get into these like certain modes with, right? Where we can make fun of stuff together, where we can talk about stuff that I wouldn't really talk to anybody else about, right? And I don't think that is necessarily a terrible thing, unless it kind of creates this attitude, or this kind of place that you get into where, yeah, you are kind of maybe not being as kind as you usually would be. You're not really being yourself. You're in this old, outmoded version of maybe how you behaved before. So I think that this is really kind of a place where it's like checking in with yourself and thinking, okay, you know, this maybe is a really close and good relationship, but maybe I need to be more mindful about how it affects me, you know. And I feel like I fully relate to this, because I do have people in my life who, if we're talking a lot and we're getting, you know, a little salty, a little, you know, I don't know, a little clowning on people or whatever, I start to feel like this is not who I am anymore. You know, I'm just not this person anymore. That was maybe me how I was growing up. This is maybe how you know, my defense mechanism in my younger years, when I was maybe a little more insecure and I felt like I had to always fight, you know, to get any kind of respect or to take care of myself. It was always in this posture of being quite defensive or you know, whatever, always having to feel like I had to be funny about everything, or, you know, just not very serious. And that's fine. We sometimes need to remember what we've been like, you know, what we have kind of evolved out of. And I think this is one of your moments where it's kind of like, I don't want to revert back to you know, being like this all the time. So maybe I need to check myself a little bit and make the adjustments where they need to happen, and not listen, and don't shame yourself, right? And that's where I get in trouble too, is that I will shame myself about it. And it just feels bad. Like I've behaved poorly. I've maybe said something I shouldn't have. I maybe, you know, gossiped or like idle chatter, you know, and I feel so guilty. And then I think I'm a bad person. I've worked really hard not to talk about people. I've worked really hard not to be super negative about things. Even stuff simple, like my daughter, she's getting into music. She likes this, what is it called? Kids Bop or whatever. Not my kind of music. Not my kind of music. But, you know, I've been very mindful about not putting down or not being like, ugh, this again. You know, please no. Because what do I know, right? And who am I to, you know, poo-poo on somebody else's interests or what they're doing or how they're living or whatever. You know, it does not add to my life. At the same time, right? It is fun to you know, I don't know. So yes, I think this is a place where it's like checking in with yourself. Now, again, don't be cruel to yourself, because we all have our moments. And we have a person on a horse with a heart. We also have a person here, and this is the home. When we have this kind of covering like this, it almost reminds me of Nuit, right? The goddess of the sky. But we have the home, okay? We also have a child. We have a person who it looks like they're kind of frolicking. And I feel that there is a very swift change coming here. And I don't know if this is you or if this is maybe like one of your children. There may be adults or maybe somebody in your life. I almost wonder if it's you though. But I do feel like it's like meeting somebody, falling in love, right? Kind of quickly moving in together. Whatever quickly is for you. For me, quickly was like 2 years, waiting 2 years. I was like, this is still going too fast. But yeah, whatever quickly is in your mind. And yeah, maybe like really starting a family. Or coming into a situation where you get together, you move in, and then suddenly maybe like one of your grandkids, you know, they need a place to stay. You start raising a grandkid together. You know, I don't know exactly, but it does feel like there is this swift kind of turn coming up here where it leads to almost like a completely different alignment of your life. And it's almost like it goes so fast that it's hard to even stop and think about. And I think that really fits in with the Prince of Discs energy, because if you could imagine, this is somebody who is reforming their life, right? They're building a home. They're making sure that they're studying to have the career that they want. They're expanding their skill set. They're starting a business. You know, they're out there creating gardens in the yard, doing things that are in the physical world to evolve their life, to better their circumstances. And it's so quick. And you can see there's the bull or Taurus pulling the wagon there. I think it's a chariot. It must be a chariot because he's standing. But you can feel how fast and furious and passionate. I can even hear it. It's like it's rolling down a cobbled street, just loud. Those wheels just pounding on the pavement, going quickly, quickly, quickly. And I feel like what your life was like a year ago is completely different than it is now. And even in the next year, it will look even more different yet, right? It'll continue to kind of adjust, and it's almost like you were married, you got divorced, you met somebody you didn't think you were going to, you end up moving in together, you have a kid all of a sudden, and your whole world looks different. It just is absolutely unrecognizable. But I think that there's a happiness in all of this. There is a sense of, well, it feels like wonder. It feels like potential. It feels like I can do so many different things if I want to. Like, I don't feel confined to the life that I had just a few years ago, right? Where I feel like you were kind of in this place that felt a little stuck, but you have gotten it moving. Now, we also have this large star here. So to me, it really does feel like you not only have had all these changes going on, but you have been very devoted to your goals, right? The star card being our long-term, bigger picture goals. And I want to take a look. I want to see, we're going to do 3 oracle cards. These are from the Oracle of the Radiant Sun. And I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Oh, we're fighting something off here in the house, hoping that we don't succumb to getting sick, but it feels like everybody maybe has a touch of a cold. So thank you for putting up with with the way I sound and everything else. So I'm going to pick 3, and we're just going to kind of see, like, what does this goal look like? What are we doing here? Okay, so we have ostentation. So kind of showy, right? A little bit maybe concerned with the appearance of things, maybe wanting to appear to be, well, put together, wealthy, successful, this kind of thing. If you could think of like, I always think of like the pomp and circumstance of like a royal entrance, or some kind of parade that has all these like kind of bells and whistles, and so I think you're making a pretty good show of it. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead. Let me just stop here. We'll do riches. Yeah. Okay. Vision. Okay. So it is. I think it really is about kind of having a life that you can be proud of. Having a maybe financial disposition that you can be proud of. But I think more than anything, it is. You want to kind of live maybe somewhat of a lavish life, or at least, right, to have the bills covered, to be living in a pretty decent place, being able to have the room to express yourself. And so I think this kind of all comes back to maybe where we were talking about having the ability to kind of work together towards maybe like a business, or some kind of shared situation where you're making some money, getting into a place where it feels like, I have a person in my life who I can build this life together. I can have maybe we can have like a side hustle together. Maybe it is that you have your own jobs, but your own careers, but you're really good at working together in this financial planning, you know, holding up both of your ends of this union, right? Bringing in resources, and also just keeping the home functioning and the family together, and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So, yeah. And with the vision, I think that you really do have a lot of ideas. You have, you know, that innovative spirit. So when it comes to thinking about like, what might I be able to make money doing? I think that you're really good at coming up with possibilities. And not only that, I could see you really going after getting that together. So like if you are somebody who really likes to bake, right? You're like the one in the family, you make all the cakes for all the parties and family things and, you know, whatever. And you think, maybe I want to do like a little cottage bakery business, you know, or maybe I want to open a bakery or whatever. I feel like you have the vision to kind of figure it all out, you know, and also to be able to access within yourself the reality of what would you like to do, what would you actually make money doing, right? What's going to actually work for you? But I think most importantly, what can you continue to do all the time, right? We all want to go into business for ourselves. I think most of us do anyways. But the reality of the work is often so much different than what we picture it, right? It is a lot of repetitive tedium. And you have to be willing to do that day in and day out and be self-motivated. But I think that you are very realistic about this. You know, if anybody is going to be like a self-employed person or some kind of contractor or, you know, doing whatever, having clients and running your own whatever spa or you're a hairstylist or, you know, whatever it is. Aquarius, I feel like is the perfect alignment of being. There just really is this sense of like, yeah, you can follow the rules and yeah, you could, you know, go work at somebody's company and do well. But do you want to, right? That's the thing. I think that you just really like doing it how you like to do it. And that is ideal. And not only that, we all like to do things the way that we want to do them. Not everybody has a good outcome, right? But Aquarius, you are smart, you are clever, you are talented. And so, yeah, you are your best boss. And yeah, I think that if this is something that you are beginning or if this is something that you are already doing, I feel it going pretty dang well. Also, I feel like you having somebody who, you know, is interested in being involved in your work or, you know, working together fully side by side, definitely something that I think would be very kind of blessed with fortune, you know, and positive outcomes. Now, okay, so immediately I had this kind of feeling of somebody sitting in a chair, like a rocking chair or like one of those lazy boy kind of chairs, kind of sitting by themselves, feeling like they're kind of fading into the distance, the past. You know, I imagine this is kind of maybe somebody who is elderly, or maybe somebody who is in a place of grief because they feel so isolated from the world. It feels like they live in this little tiny place in the world. Like they've created a mental cell for themselves. And I think it has a lot to do with like just not making the effort to be around other people, and maybe other people just haven't gone to see them very often. And there seems to be this real sense of like losing touch with reality. Kind of, if you've ever been alone for like prolonged amounts of time, you can start to feel really different. After I went through a bunch of stuff when I was around 30 years old, I spent a few years by myself, and there would be times where I would be alone. I wouldn't see anybody for like a week or two until I had to go, you know, to the store or whatever. And yeah, you can get into like a really weird place. And if you're not somebody who likes to be alone, it can be, I can imagine being very devastated and feeling almost kind of, it almost is like it's like cabin fever, right? Where there's a distortion in reality, a distortion even with how you relate to yourself. And so I wonder if this is kind of like they're going through it almost feels like a mental, emotional trauma due to really not having a lot of interaction. And as I look at this, I see the person kind of reaching out, right? And so I feel like maybe you know who I'm talking about here. This might be even like your neighbor, right? It might be somebody you worked with and years ago, and they got older and their family is all gone, and here they are by themselves living in their house or in assisted living or something, and nobody ever talks to them or comes to see them. They are forgotten in a lot of ways. And I implore you to go and visit them. Go see them. Go check up on them. You know, it doesn't have to be anything super involved, but just kind of sitting together, right? Seeing what's going on with them. How are you feeling? What's the news? You know, what have you been thinking about? You know, even tell me about your wife. Tell me about, you know, what were your kids like when they were young? What was your childhood like? Whatever it is, just having a conversation and listening to them. I think that this is something that really, it feels so important. And I think that all of us need to be checking up on each other, especially, and if you've ever watched my channel for any amount of time, you know I have a great tenderness for people who are getting older, especially like elderly people. Mostly because I grew up with my grandmother and my great-grandmother living with us, and my grandmother had Alzheimer's, and my great-grandma was around 100 years old, you know, in her 90s and older when I was living with her, or she was living with us or whatever. But I watched the pain of these, the deterioration of my grandmother and my great-grandmother's daughter, and she's taking care of her, but she was in her 90s, you know, and I remember my grandmother crying, my great-grandmother crying sometimes, saying that everybody she loved was gone, everybody she knew was gone, you know, and the world was different and strange, and you know, and this was back in the 90s. So I could imagine people are more and more, you know, isolated, especially if you grew up in the time before all of this technology. And, you know, and that's difficult. So I'm very passionate about being with those who are elders, if they are actual family or chosen family or part of the community, right? We need to be with each other. We need to see each other. We need to talk to each other. Even if you're like me, I could spend eternity by myself and probably never get bored. Well, maybe a little bit, but, you know, but even so, it is my duty as a human being, you know, to connect to other people and to be of service to other people. There's a lot of people who are real lonely, not even just older people, you know, they say it's an epidemic, especially with men. I guess men are very lonely, and maybe not all men, but yeah, you know, and we have to be empathetic of one another, right? However we feel about that, I think ultimately, yes, we need to be there for one another, and it is our duty. So go visit somebody, go spend some time with one of your, you know, your neighbors or whatever. Go volunteer at like the old folks home. That's a big one. Just going and hanging out. I love to hang out. I love to hang out and chit chat. So, you know, especially if it's somebody that I might not see again. I don't know what it is about one of these, like, where two boats passing in the night, you know, having somebody you just talk to, you learn really deep and interesting things about them, then you never see each other again, you know. One thing I miss about using public transit is that you would have these encounters sometimes. So let's do our gratitude cards, our gratitude affirmation cards. And I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to flip through. I'm going to stop where it feels right. We're going to flip this over. It says lunar rhythms. Listen, I think it's the full moon. I feel like it's the full moon today. I should know. Yeah, it is. We're at the full moon right now. My daughter loves when I get this. I have a wolf mask. I put it on and I ring the doorbell before bed on the full moon, and then she comes to the door and she opens it, and every time she gets so freaked out, she's so scared, but then she's like, do it again, Mom, do it again. All right, so we have I am grateful for cycles and seasons, like the waxing and waning phases of the moon. The patterns and rhythms of my life offer the comfort and familiarity with the newness of change. Practice. What seasons of life have you enjoyed the most? Give thanks for the cycles of time and nature that bring those seasons back to you. Give thanks for the cycles of time and nature that bring those seasons back to you. Yes. What is your favorite season of life? I think right now for me, maybe like when we first had the baby, it was rough. Neither my husband and I were anticipating sleep deprivation, and being older, you know, being older parents and sleep deprivation. Woo! But other than that, I mean, it just, yeah, it was maybe the best time. Now it's still getting better. And here's the thing is that, like, little babies, I love them. They're gorgeous. I had a lot of fun, you know, with my daughter and stuff. But now that she's like 4, she has such a personality. I love talking to her. I love her ideas about the world. I love all of her, you know, silliness. And I mean, it doesn't get any better than when they start to really become themselves. And so anyways, yeah, share with us what was your favorite season. Are you in it? Did it happen long ago? How do you kind of breathe life back into it? And yeah, share it up in the comments. All right, Aquarius, I'm going to tell you I love you because I do, and I thank you so much for spending this time with me. It is always such an honor to be able to bring these messages to you. And if you would be so kind as to like the video, it really does help the channel. And if you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing that. You can hit that little bell button. It'll let you know when the next readings are coming out, and it is free to subscribe. Also, if you would like to leave a comment, I would love to hear from you. If you're new to the channel, shout it out in the comment section. And I think that's it. All right, Aquarius, I love you. Take care of yourself. We will talk real soon. Good night, good night, good night.